This meeting, good morning. I will call this meeting of the Legislative Audit Commission Evaluation Subcommittee to order. The clerk will take the roll.
This is Bridget Grabowski, and I will complete the roll. Chair Hansen.
Present.
Senator Kiffmeyer. Senator Kiffmeyer. Senator Curran.
Present.
Senator Ress.
Present.
That completes the roll. You do have a quorum.
Thank you. A quorum is present. Ms. Weber, would you kind of describe the process before us today?
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. For the record, I'm Michelle Weber with the Legislative Coordinating Commission. Posted with the meeting materials are two documents that I'll be referring to as I provide an overview this morning. The first is the Legislative Auditor Performance Evaluation Policy. This is the policy that was adopted by the Legislative Audit Commission in November of 2019. The second document that we'll talk about more in more detail is a proposed work plan and timeline for conducting the annual performance evaluation for Ms. Randall. The performance evaluation policy requires the executive subcommittee to adopt a timetable and work plan to guide the assessment process at least 30 days prior to the performance assessment. I'm going to share my screen so that you all can see the proposed work plan and timeline. And if I could just confirm, are you able to see that? Great.
Yes.
So the Legislative Auditor Performance Evaluation, it includes three components, and this is very similar to the work plan and process that was used 2 years ago when the policy was first adopted. As you all know, Ms. Randall was appointed to a 6-year term as the Legislative Auditor last November. So this will be the first annual performance evaluation for Ms. Randall. The process will include a self-assessment, which is something that will be produced independently by Ms. Randall and submitted to the chair and vice chair. There will also be staff, stakeholder, and member interviews to provide input on the performance of Ms. Randall as the Legislative Auditor, and then a final evaluation meeting that will be in person and conducted by Representative Hansen and Senator Curran as the chair and vice chair of the Legislative Audit Commission. The timeline that's being proposed begins with today's meeting by the executive subcommittee. And as I mentioned, the committee must adopt this work plan and timeline before we commence with conducting the evaluation. The interviews are tentatively scheduled to occur with staff, members, and stakeholders between October 17th and 27th by 2 designated members of the Audit Commission. Ideally, those members would be 1 representative from the Senate and 1 representative from the House, each representing different parties, so that there's a bipartisan participation in the performance evaluation process. If those individuals are identified sooner, we could commence with scheduling and arranging for those interviews to take place earlier. Ms. Randall's self-assessment is due to the chair and vice chair by October 28th. Also, Ms. Randall is required under the policy to conduct annual performance review of the deputy auditors. So Ms. Lyson is the current deputy auditor that is Ms. Randall's former position hasn't been filled yet. So right now there's just 1 deputy auditor, but that evaluation would be completed by the end of October, with the final meeting, as I mentioned, happening on November 3rd is the tentative timeline for that to occur. Then summary materials. The policy requires that a report be provided to each member of the Audit Commission on the performance evaluation. Those summary materials would be developed and provided to each of the Audit Commission members by November 9th, which coincides with the appointment date, as well as if there was a desire to conduct a full Audit Commission meeting to discuss the evaluation. And that would have to include just public information in that public meeting related to the performance evaluation. That could occur as well if the commission were to decide they wanted to do that. The second page of the document just provides a bit of an overview of some of the tools that are that have been developed and are available, as well as the assistance that can be provided by the Legislative Coordinating Commission in facilitating the logistical aspects of the performance evaluation. It's important to note that the evaluation is conducted by members of the Audit Commission, that the LCC isn't involved in conducting the evaluation, but helps to coordinate and the overall work plan and policy were developed in consultation with Tom Bodern from Senate Council Research and Fiscal Analysis, as well as Patrick McCormick from House Research. And then I did meet with Senator Cran and Representative Hansen to walk through the process to ensure that that the process that was used 2 years ago is the same process that would be brought forward for consideration by the subcommittee this year. Of special note, if there are sensitive items that are identified during the evaluation process, members are advised to consult with either Tom Bodern, Patrick McCormick, or myself about that, so we can ensure that any information that must be kept confidential is kept confidential, as well as any additional actions that should be taken, that we're following all the necessary and required, legal aspects of that as well. As a reminder, the midpoint evaluation for the legislative auditor, the policy does indicate that a midpoint evaluation after the third year would be conducted by an independent entity, and that report then would be provided to all the members of the Legislative Audit Commission. So that concludes my overview. I believe Ms. Grabowski can stop sharing my screen for you. But I'm happy to answer any questions. And I did see that Ms. James from Senate Council and Patrick McCormick from House Research are also available if members have any questions or there's additional information that we can provide.
Members, do we have any questions?
Mr. Chair,
Senator Cran.
I don't have any questions. I think for us, our next steps is if we agree, we can adopt the plan. I don't know if it's necessary to, if we go to point number 4 in the timeline, to identify somebody today. But if we can, it would be great. But we don't have a broad audience on here. I think Senator Rest is the only other member. If I just looked, I think Senator Rest is the only other member here. But also, are we going to stick with returning members to the body? And if we look at a mix of, we look at a senator and a House member for number 4, I would propose, if Senator Rest is interested from that review, Senator Rest and possibly Representative Quam. I think it's going to be difficult to get those members who are not running to get time to do the review that we need. So that would be my proposal, or at least for consideration if Senator Rest is interested, as well as I think Representative Quam. Then we would have our balance, Senate and a House member, and everybody there is a returning member and has a vested stake in the future.
Well, why don't we first get a motion to adopt the policy and timeline? Senator Cran, or Senator Rest?
I move that, and then I have a question.
Senator Rest moves. Senator Rest.
Thank you. I just want to be clear in my own head that this proposal is what we have used before, and that any changes are just a matter of timeline dates, and everything else is kind of like boilerplate from what we've done before. Is that correct?
Senator Rest, that is what we wanted to make sure that we were doing the exact same thing we did 2 years ago, and I would defer to Ms. Weber to confirm that is the case.
Mr. Chair and Senator Rest, yes, this is the exact same policy that and work plan and adjusted timeline to reflect dates this year, but there were just some clarification statements that we added on the midpoint evaluation to ensure that the members treat that as confidential also. So there was a clarifying statement added, but other than that, there haven't been any changes to the overall process.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'm comfortable then with that response. I do think we need to have apples to apples as we go forward, and so I am fully informed and prepared to vote.
I would just say I had approached Representative Liebling because she and Senator Kiffmeyer had done it 2 years ago. And so doing the exact same thing, I had already approached Representative Liebling. So I don't know, Senator Crand, if and Senator Rest, what you think, but I did ask her about it, and she was willing to do it. So,
okay. Mr. Chair, I mean, I'll double check with Kiffmeyer if they both did a great job last time. If that's fine, I'm good with it. So I'll check with Senator Kiffmeyer as well to see if she has the availability to do it.
Well,
Senator Rest.
Well, I do believe that the House can, obviously make their own decision, but Senator Coran, I believe that this evaluation should be done by a representative from the Senate who at least is on the ballot going forward and has, more than just a philosophical stake in the continuation of the OLA, and that we use, and Representative Liebling, I do believe, is running for re-election, correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to do it. It's the kind of analysis and review that I enjoy doing and promise to be fair.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Cran.
And Senator Rest, that was kind of my thought on the original proposal was, and then to have balance then, because you've done it before, you're here, the returning members, I believe, and our commitment as well. And then to have balance, then we would just need to find a Republican House member as the commission. And I think Quam is the only returning House member that's on the ballot as well. So he would be it from that perspective on the Republican side. And then if it was the other side, I would be the only member, the only other returning Republican member. So that's why my proposal was for you, and then find it really is Quam is their only alternative, just to have balance. So.
And I think it's okay. I just wanted to let you know that I had already talked to Senator Liebling. I don't think she'll be too torn up about it, but but I don't want to speak for her. But just why don't we, if we adopt the policy here, then we work out the two names here on who is willing and able to do it. So,
and adding to that, a preference, a strong preference that it's be someone who wishes to continue in the legislature. That I do think that's important.
Agree.
I would agree, Senator Rest.
The clerk will take the roll.
Chair Hansen,
Aye.
Senator Coran,
Aye.
Senator Rest.
Aye.
That ends the vote. The vote was unanimous.
Motion is approved. Are there any other motions or actions that are needed? Ms. Weber?
Mr. Chair, no, that concludes what's required under the policy for the performance evaluation.
And Senator Cran, do you have any indication of meetings between now and when the meeting would be done for the performance review? Is there anything planned?
Mr. Chair, Senator Cran just re-entered, so he might
Oh,
need you
okay.
to.
Sorry about that. I hit a button and of course it dropped the call. So I'm back, Rick.
I was just asking Senator Cran, is there any plan for anything else before, other than the timeline we just adopted? We don't have any other meetings scheduled, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, well, seeing none, thank you for your work. We are adjourned.
Excellent. Thanks, Rick.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody.